I fell off a mountain, my back's hurting.
No, I wasn't going to ask that one.
I know.
But you were dead.
530 feet was a long way and 17 operations. Yeah, I have a little bit of back pain now and then.
What do you remember about that fall?
All of it.
Cause a country boy can survive. Country folks can survive.
For over 70 years, Hank Williams Jr.'s life has been a roller coaster of loss, tragedies, and constant heartache. From losing his father at the age of 3 to falling down a cliff in 1975, the country music star has been through hell and back. So join us as we explore the life and tragic ending of Hank Williams Jr., a tale of tragedies. Growing up as the son of a country music legend wasn't easy, and no one understood this better than Hank Williams Jr. Born on May 26, 1949, in Shreveport, Louisiana, Williams found himself thrust into the spotlight as soon as he was born, which isn't unexpected when your father is one of the greatest country musicians to ever live. Hank Williams Sr. was a legend of legends, a country music icon who became one of the most influential American singers and songwriters of the 20th century. The money and fame aside though, Hank Jr.'s life has been marked by a wave of terrible tragedies, and it all started with the death of his father. It was a cold evening on December 29, 1952, and 29-year-old Hank Williams Sr. was in bed with his wife, but there was a problem. He couldn't sleep, and it wasn't about the many shows he had to play the next day. After all, he'd done that so many times that he could still dazzle the crowd with one hand tied behind his back. However, something else was eating at him, and he couldn't really put a finger to it. When his wife, Billie Jean, asked what was going on, his reply was simply, "I think I see God coming down the road." Sadly, this turned out to be an accurate prophecy, because 48 hours later, Hank Williams Sr. met his maker in one of the most controversial deaths recorded at the time. You see, the day after Williams Sr. made this chilling statement, he was scheduled to perform at the Municipal Auditorium in Charleston, West Virginia. But while he was on his way, a huge snowstorm hit the Montgomery area, grounding all flights out of the city. Left with no other choice but to drive, Williams Sr. hired a college student by the name of Charles Carr to drive him to all the concerts he had that day. It was New Year's Eve, and the snowfall was heavy, but Williams was in a hurry, so he didn't have a choice. After traveling for a while, Williams and Carr stopped at the Redmont Hotel in Birmingham, Alabama for the night, and as soon as the sun was out the next morning, they were on their way to Fort Payne, and from there on to Knoxville, Tennessee. They then got on a flight to Charleston, but the terrible weather disrupted their plans again, and the plane had to return to Knoxville. After landing in Knoxville, Williams Sr. and his driver Carr stopped at the Andrew Jackson Hotel, and by this time, the country singer wasn't feeling so well. He had consumed a combination of chloral hydrate and alcohol on his way, and now his stomach was turning inside out. So Carr requested a doctor, and a man named Dr. P.H. Cardwell was called onto the scene. 2 shots of vitamin B12 and a little of morphine later, Dr. Cardwell assured Carr that Williams Sr. would soon be okay. However, things soon took a dark turn. The two soon checked out of the Andrew Johnson Hotel, and even though the show at Charleston had already been canceled at this point, Williams instructed Carr to drive him to Canton, Ohio, where a crowd waited eagerly to watch him perform a New Year's show. Unfortunately though, Williams never made it there. After driving for 20 straight hours, Carr stopped at a gas station in Oak Hill, Virginia, and that was when he realized that Williams had been dead for so long that rigor mortis had already set in. Doctors would later claim that Williams was killed by the deadly combination of alcohol, morphine, and chloral hydrate, which triggered a heart attack and ultimately took his life. When the news of the musician's death hit the streets, it was a huge blow no one saw coming, but no one felt the impact more than Williams' wife, Audrey, and their child, Hank Williams Jr. At this point, Williams Jr. was only 3 years old, and the loss of his father absolutely changed his life, but this was just a small tragedy compared to the horror he would have to face throughout his life. As soon as his father passed away, his life became a roller coaster. Boy meets world. As America grieved the loss of one of the most incredible country music to ever live, all attention turned to his son, Hank Williams Jr., to carry on the legacy of his father. It was a shoe one size too big. But the entire music industry was determined to make Hank Jr. a perfect clone of his father. Unlike other kids who enjoyed normal childhoods and dreamed of becoming doctors and astronauts when they grew up, Williams Jr. had no say in his own future, which had already been decided since his father died. Growing up, his father fondly called him Bocephus, the name of Rod Bradford's iconic ventriloquist dummy. His childhood was also influenced by country music icons like Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash, Fats Domino, Earl Scruggs, and Jerry Lee Lewis, to mention a few. Imagine learning the guitar, piano, and other instruments from some of the most successful musicians of the time. This was the reality Bocephus grew up in. At just 8 years old, he stepped on stage at the Grand Ole Opry for the first time, singing one of his father's songs with the same sonorous voice the people knew and loved. It was as though Hank Williams Sr. had come back to life, and the audience couldn't get enough. So he gave them everything he could, and then some more. Throughout his teenage years, Williams performed at sold-out shows and on national television, singing his father's tunes while also looking exactly like him. His voice, texture, mannerisms, clothes, literally everything was tailored to his father's image, and it came at the cost of Williams' personal identity. At age 15, he recorded his first album titled Hank Williams Jr. Sings the Songs of Hank Williams Sr., which was simply a cover of some of his father's greatest hits. This was in 1964, and by the end of the year he had recorded 2 more albums and scored his first top 5 hit on the country charts, with the song Long Gone Lonesome Blues. However, the pressure on him was heavy, and even though his career was pretty successful for a teenager, Bocephus found very little fulfillment in living his father's life, so he found solace in drinking and taking pills, the same deadly path his father took while he was alive. Whenever he tried to branch out and explore his own identity, Williams faced severe criticism from music executives who constantly reminded him that he was nothing more than a mirror image of his father. It was during this time that he would make a drastic decision that almost ruined his life. Heavy is the head. Being born into a rich and famous family is a dream for many, but for Williams, it was a nightmare. And on a fateful day in 1974, he decided to end it all. The details of his attempt are unclear, but it was so bad that he landed in the hospital. Bocephus was just 25 at the time, and he could recall the chilling words of the doctor that left an indelible mark on his life. He said, "Let me just lay it out there for you. You've been taught from the time you can possibly remember to look like, act like, be like everything exactly like your legendary father. They've done a damn good job, and you're going to beat him because he died at 29. You're going to die at 26. These words turned out to be an accurate prophecy, because the very next year, Hank Williams Jr. suffered one of his most devastating accidents, an accident so terrible that he nearly died. Fall from grace. As Williams left the hospital days after his attempt, the words of the doctor continued to echo in his ears and in his heart of hearts. He knew there was an element of truth in those words, and if he didn't take control of his life, he might end up losing it, just like his father. So in 1975, Williams did exactly what he should have done many years ago. He moved to Alabama, locked himself in the studio, and recorded what would be his breakthrough album, Hank Williams Jr. and Friends. Unlike his previous works, this album was going to be different, as Bocephus deviated from the lonesome style that made his father famous, branching out into the more rambunctious country rock sound he would later be known for. However, before he could promote the album, Williams embarked on a journey to climb Mount Ajax in Montana, along with a friend named Dick Willie. While attempting to cross a snowfield at the peak of the mountain, the snow gave way, and he fell 500 feet to the ground, fracturing his skull in several places on the way down. Shocked and stunned, Willie quickly alerted a park ranger, who radioed for help. It didn't take long for a medical helicopter to arrive on the scene, whisking the country star away to the Missoula Community Hospital for a life-saving surgery. For the next 7 hours, 5 of the best doctors in the city worked round the clock to salvage what was left of his face. The miraculous recovery. When Williams finally opened his eyes after the surgery, the first 2 people he saw were his godmother, June Carter Cash, and her husband, Johnny Cash, who stood by him throughout the time he was hospitalized. Williams recalled June putting a cross on him and telling him he was going to be okay, even though no one was sure whether he would make it or not. At this point, it was also hard to determine whether he would be able to sing again or not, because even though he didn't die, the damage to his face was pretty severe. It would later take 9 more extensive surgeries done over the course of 2 years before his face was fully formed again. This included plates, skin grafts, and every other surgical procedure you can think of. The 2 years were also spent learning to walk, talk, and sing again, and the details of the incident are chronicled in his semi-autobiographical film, Living Proof: The Hank Williams Jr. Story. To cover the permanent scars left from the accident and surgery, Williams had to grow a beard, wear sunglasses, and a cowboy hat, and the signature Hank Williams Jr. look was born. But even though he just survived what should have been his last moment on Earth, Bocephus was about to face yet another tragedy, this time involving his mother. On November 4, 1975, Audrey Williams passed away at the age of 52. The autopsy report stated that the death resulted from a chronic heart failure, even though she and her son were not exactly on talking terms since Williams cut all ties with her when he turned 18. The loss affected him greatly, and he struggled to find peace again. She was eventually buried on November 6, 1975, while Williams was still recovering from his fall, the boy who became a legend. The next couple of years were pretty good for Bocephus, because it was during the period that he finally turned his life around. In 1976, Rolling Stone magazine praised him as one of the best songwriters to come out of Nashville. Then in 1977, Williams recorded and released 3 of his biggest songs, One Night Stands, The New South, and Once and For All, which had the input of Williams' old friend, Waylon Jennings. As the 1980s rolled in, Williams remained one of the most prolific country musicians of the time, sometimes recording and releasing 2 albums a year. We're talking 21 albums between 1979 and 1992, showcasing not only his brilliant songwriting skills, but also his incredible work ethic. Even more impressive is the fact that these albums were so successful that they were all certified gold by the RIAA. But that's not all. Williams also recorded spectacular success on the charts during these glory days, including 30 top 10 singles on the Billboard country charts, 8 of which reached the #1 spot. In 1982 alone, the highly successful country singer dominated the Billboard Top Country Albums chart, with 9 of his albums occupying different spots on the chart. Every single one of these albums were original works, and not the compilations of his father's songs he made in the early days. 1987 to 1989 also brought a lot of fortune for Bocephus, who raked in awards like it was nothing. All I need is all you folks there, and all of them out there in TV. I got to cut it short, Bass. Thank goodness. I love it. He was named Entertainer of the Year by the Country Music Association, and then again by the Academy of Country Music. But none of this could be compared to the love he got from his fans back then. Bocephus was a household name. From a boy who was forced to conform to the image of his father, Hank Williams Jr. transformed himself into a country music superstar with his catchy anthems and hard-edged rock-influenced country music. He warmed his way into the hearts of millions of fans, many of who still adore him today. These chart-topping songs were so popular that they constantly flew into the #1 and 2 spots effortlessly. The best of Bocephus, most fans remember him for hits like Family Tradition, Whiskey Bent and Hellbound, Old Habits Ain't Misbehavin', Born to Boogie, and who could forget My Name is Bocephus. Then there's the hit single Wild Streak, which was co-written by Terry and released in 1987. The song turned out to be so successful that both men earned gold records from it. Then in 1988, he released an interesting song titled If the South Woulda Won, a reference to the idea of a Southern victory in the Civil War. His 1989 hit, There's a Tear in My Beer, is another interesting song. This was the only duet Williams made with his father. You see, it was Williams who first recorded the song, playing the guitar as the sole instrument. So in honor of his father, Bocephus created the emotional piece using electronic merging technology. The music video was also quite moving as it featured existing television footage of Hank Williams Sr. performing, which interlaced with new Bocephus on stage to make it seem like they were playing together. Both the song and the music video enjoyed both critical and commercial success. It did so well that it was even named Video of the Year by both the Country Music Association and the Academy of Country Music. The song also won a Grammy in 1990 for Best Country Vocal Collaboration, making it one of Williams' best records ever. He's also known as the performer of the theme song for Monday Night Football, a song based on his 1984 hit, All My Rowdy Friends Are Coming Over Tonight. With his unique blend of country music and rock and roll, Bocephus was able to penetrate several markets that other country musicians couldn't reach. He would later grab 4 Emmy Awards for these opening themes, one in 1991, another in 1992, 1993, and 1994. Over the years, Bocephus has released more hit songs than you can count, including classics like America Will Survive, which he released in the wake of the 9/11 attack. Hit records aside, Williams has also bagged tons of awards throughout his career. In 2006, he won the Johnny Cash Visionary Award, and the following year, he was named Tennessean of the Year by the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. In the same year, he was inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, and in 2017, he was named number 50 in Rolling Stone's 100 Greatest Country Artists of All Time. However, for a very long time, the country music community sidelined Williams, and they didn't even try to hide it. Hall of Fame drama. On November 21, 2021, the legendary Hank Williams Jr. was finally inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Although many fans were happy that he finally got it, it's a recognition he should have gotten a long time ago. See, for years, Bocephus was constantly overlooked by the Hall of Fame, even though he was one of the most successful performers in history. He passed all through the modern era inductee period without being acknowledged, and ended up being a Veterans Era inductee well past the time he should have been recognized. He himself had addressed the delay in the 2015 song, Just Call Me Hank, where he said, "Don't call me an icon. I don't care about the Hall of Fame. Just going to live my life in my country boy kind of way. Me and I don't about of fame." Some might say it was his polarizing personality that got him sidelined, while others say the Hall of Fame were just trying to avoid drama. For example, when Williams' friend Waylon Jennings was inducted in October 2001, he didn't even show up for the ceremony. At first, everyone thought Waylon was trying to be an outlaw by shunning the Hall of Fame. It turned out he was just suffering from severe diabetes at the time, the same ailment that would eventually claim his life 5 months after the ceremony. Still, many feared that giving Bocephus a platform at the Hall of Fame might result in some unsavory displays. However, they couldn't exclude him forever, and on that day in 21 Bocephus wasn't about to disappoint them. While his acceptance speech only lasted 1 minute and 47 seconds, his words were powerful and still resonate in the halls of power today. Addressing the elephant in the room, he said, "A lot of people to thank, and I know who they are. They know who they are. That part about family with the open arms, well, that might have been a little bit different in my case." But after the slight jab at the Hall of Fame, he ended the address by reciting the names of his songs, saying, "But I went to Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and all my rowdy friends are coming over tonight. I was born to boogie, and this is a family tradition." Political controversy. Apart from being one of the most successful country musicians to ever live, Williams also dabbled in politics during the 2000 U.S. presidential elections. He re-recorded his song, "We Are Young Country," to "This Is Bush Cheney Country," and even beyond then, he had always lent his voice to federal election campaigns, mostly to Republicans. However, he had also donated to Democrats like Jim Cooper and John S. Tanner in the past. But his biggest political drama came in 2011, when he crossed the line in his tirade against former President Barack Obama. On October 3, 2011, Williams appeared as a guest on Fox News Channel's show, Fox and Friends, where he discussed the June golf game where Obama teamed up with Republican House Speaker John Boehner against Vice President Joe Biden and Ohio Governor John Kasich. Williams took the opportunity to lash out against Obama like he has done in times past, calling the game one of the biggest political mistakes ever. When the host asked why the game troubled him so much, he replied, saying the match was like Hitler playing golf with Netanyahu, which resulted in massive outrage. Later, anchor Gretchen Carlson said to him, "You used the name of one of the most hated people in all of the world to describe, I think, the president." To which Williams replied, "Well, that is true, but I'm telling you like it is." Williams would later label Obama a Muslim president who hated the military. As a result of this comment, ESPN dropped Williams' opening song from its Monday Night Football broadcast, bringing an end to a contract that had been in effect since 1989. Williams would later come out to state that his analogy was extreme, but it was to make a point. The unapologetic comment received public disapproval, and Williams made more enemies with it than friends. But he didn't stop there. Just like he always does anytime he had something to say, Williams went into the studio and recorded a song titled "Keep the Change," criticizing Obama, ESPN, and Fox and Friends. The song turned out to be fairly successful, and Williams remained vocal about his views throughout Obama's regime. Trouble with the law. In 2006, a cloud of controversy hovered over Hank Williams Jr., better known by his nickname Bocephus, when he became embroiled in a legal scandal that threatened to derail his career. The incident began innocuously enough in the grand lobby of the Peabody Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee, a historic establishment known for its southern charm and world-famous ducks. However, what unfolded on that fateful March day would soon turn the spotlight on the country music legend for all the wrong reasons. The central figure in the allegations against Williams was Holly Hornbeak, a 19-year-old waitress working at the Peabody Hotel. According to Hornbeak, what began as an ordinary shift soon took a disturbing turn when she encountered the legendary singer. Hornbeak alleged that Williams, who was well known for his hard-living persona and unapologetically brash attitude, crossed a line when he began hurling insults at her. The situation reportedly escalated when Williams allegedly asked to kiss her, a request that she declined. In her statement to the police, Hornbeak claimed that Williams responded by lifting her off the ground in a chokehold, a move that left her shocked and shaken. As the story broke, the media quickly pounced on the allegations, and Williams found himself at the center of a scandal that had all the makings of a tabloid sensation. The police, acting on Hornbeak's complaint, issued a warrant for Williams' arrest, and the country star soon found himself surrendering to the authorities. Despite the gravity of the charges, Williams remained adamant in his denial, insisting that the accusations were unfounded and that he had done nothing wrong. The case, which had the potential to tarnish Williams' career irreparably, quickly gained momentum as the media coverage intensified. The allegations against Williams were serious, and the charge of assault to commit bodily harm carried with it the possibility of significant legal consequences. For a time, it seemed that the man known for his defiant anthems and outlaw image might find himself facing a very different kind of music. Yet, as the legal process unfolded, the case against Williams began to unravel. The initial shock and sensationalism gave way to a closer examination of the facts, and questions began to emerge about the strength of the evidence against him. The media, which had initially fueled the controversy, started to report on the growing doubts surrounding the case. In the end, the charges were dropped due to insufficient evidence. The prosecution found it challenging to substantiate the claims made by Hornbeak, and the case was dismissed. This turn of events vindicated Williams, at least in the eyes of the law. However, the incident left a lasting mark on his public image. The fallout from the scandal was significant. While Williams was legally cleared of any wrongdoing, the accusations had already been widely publicized, and the incident became another chapter in the complex narrative of his career. The country star, known for his rebellious spirit and connection to his legendary father, Hank Williams Sr., had always walked a fine line between admiration and controversy. This latest incident, however, served as a reminder of the pitfalls that often accompany fame, particularly for those who live life on the edge. For Hank Williams Jr., the scandal of 2006 was a reminder of the precarious balance between his public persona and personal behavior. Though he managed to weather the storm, the incident highlighted the challenges faced by celebrities who must navigate the scrutiny of the public eye. In the years that followed, Williams continued to make music and perform, but the shadow of the 2006 scandal lingered as a cautionary tale of how quickly things can spiral out of control in the world of fame and fortune. Despite the ordeal, Hank Williams Jr. remained a resilient figure in the country music world. His career, marked by both triumphs and controversies, exemplified the complex relationship between a celebrity's public image and their private life. The 2006 incident, while a significant hurdle, ultimately became just one more chapter in the storied life of Bocephus, a man who has never been a stranger to controversy, yet has always managed to come out on the other side. A family tragedy. Throughout his life, Hank Williams Jr. has been plagued with tragedies, from the death of his father to his own near-death experiences. And although he survived the doctor's prophecy by living way longer than 29, his life was filled with grief and despair. For example, his daughter, Catherine Williams Dunning, died in a car crash back in 2020. According to reports, Catherine was driving an SUV which was towing a boat before it rolled over, killing her instantly. She was 27. Catherine's husband, Tyler Dunning, was left with life-threatening injuries and had to be airlifted to the hospital. News of Catherine's death sent shockwaves through the whole community, and it was a big blow to Williams and his family. His other children, Samuel, Hillary, Holly, and Hank Williams III, mourned their sister heavily, as the rest of the world shared their pains with several memorials in several cities and tons of social media posts sympathizing with the family. The only silver lining was that Tyler survived the incident, even though his injuries were quite severe. Then again in 2022, Williams also lost his wife, Mary Jane Thomas, after a simple cosmetic surgery went horribly wrong. It was on March 22nd when the news about Thomas's death began to spread, and everyone couldn't believe it. A report released by the Palm Beach County Medical Examiner listed the death as accidental. According to this report, 58-year-old Thomas was undergoing a liposuction procedure when her doctor accidentally punctured her lungs while completing the fat transfer as part of a breast lift procedure. At first, the procedure seemed to have been successful, and she was even taken to a recovery facility. But then she suddenly became unresponsive, and although she was rushed to a local hospital, she eventually died in the emergency room. It was another heavy tragedy for the country music icon and his family, one that they still haven't recovered from. But even though he has survived tragedy after tragedy, Bocephus remains a vital figure in the country music industry. His latest album, which is also his 54th, is titled Rich White Honky Blues, and it was recently released in June 2022. So the music star doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. In one interview, Williams even revealed that the entire album was recorded in one take, so his energy remains unfazed. Some of his children have also followed his path. His son, Hank Williams III, and son, Sam Williams, are musicians, while his grandson, Coleman Williams, also performs under the name Hank Williams IV. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.